And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's a snack pack, unbreaking news here. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and notes for the world of pop culture. I just dropped an episode with the Xbox Showcase and Bad Boys for Life, Bad Boys Ride or Die, which is the latest movie that's out for the Bad Boys franchise. We talk about that, the Xbox Showcase. How good was the Xbox Showcase? We talk about that and more on the latest Pop Culture Cosmos. Of course, Joe Soro's here. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today. Of course, it's Simblades with a Y.com. Of course, also as well, of course, the great folks at Lakerholics.com. Of course, also what our good friend Mr. Stone Hansen, who's been back and forth all day on Twitter, @report_court. We're good friends, the Lakers in 5, Empire Jeff TV. Of course, Danny Berry Sports Highlights, and also as well, John McCainley. And please support all these great channels. And of course, first and foremost, support this channel right here by liking and subscribing today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with some, in this case, unbreaking news right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Well, unbreaking news, Dan Hurley, according to all reports, including Adrian Wojnarowski, spurns the Lakers offer, or turns it down per se. Spurns, turns down. He jilts the Lakers. The overtures made by the Lakers were all for naught, and Dan Hurley returns to UConn, leaving us still without a coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. And here today to discuss, good man indeed, he is the Brahma Bull of Simblades with a Y.com. It is Joe Soro, and Joe Woj has the Lakers trying to retool an offer for JJ or James Borrego, etc. Here we go again. But yes, no Dan Hurley, no coach, and still a problem for this organization.
Well, the difference between 70 and 100 million is not much if you're getting it, but in terms of the information that we were getting, it's considerably less than what was talked about. We heard 100 to 115 to 120. I don't know where people pull this out of their rear end.
That's why I was saying I want to hear the actual offer.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident that had it been a 10-year, $100 million contract, it wouldn't have likely left LA on Friday. Yeah. We heard the buzzwords. We talked about this last night. The buzzwords, if there's anything we're going to teach the audience here in our life, is be careful of buzzwords. Buzzwords will tell you a lot of information without even realizing it. The buzzword considerable, that was in a lot of ways the first sign that he was staying at UConn. But then again, he's been known to be flamboyant and out of the box type thinker. Maybe he was trying to play with the audience. Sometimes good performers do that just to kind of keep you on your toes. But it looked like it was a definite answer not too long after he had met with Jeannie and Rob and the Lakers. And unfortunately, I've read some bad things here in the last few hours. One in particular, that there isn't anyone attached to this. It's the usual source, but it's a pretty damning paragraph, if you will. I'm going to read it, and again, there's no official source behind it. It's just NBA source. Quote: "The Lakers' job isn't good. It is not good." I mean, they had to write that twice. That Lakers job isn't good. It is not good. Anyone that's not in the NBA might not realize it, but the perception of the job is better than what the job is. It's not a good job. He said it 3 times, or she said it 3 times. It's hard. The ownership group isn't flush with cash, which I don't know if that makes any sense considering they just offered a coach $11.6 million a year for 6 years, but it's maybe facilities or whatever, maybe, I don't know. But it's hard that the ownership group isn't flush with cash and their front office hasn't proven they can build a roster. Now, that part we can't argue against. Moving forward, you can't even build up with 3 superstars because of the new CBA, which is true. You take LeBron and AD off that team, look at that roster. The team is horrible. Now, you can look at that one of 2 ways. One, anytime you take 2 of the best players off your team, the team's probably not going to be good. But in our case, it's very true because the Lakers have not been building this team to win. They've been building it to whatever. And what the fallback decision or what the fallback coach at this point will be, I don't know if it necessarily matters at this point. If they fall back on the JJ Redick, I don't know if that's going to mean anything better down the road. Probably not. But there's a clear understanding now that this particular management, this particular ownership is terrible at closing. They can't even close people paying them lots of money. So there's obviously an issue with who's in charge. They cannot close. They are not closing. They haven't closed anyone of any significance, really, except LeBron James, whom some have already argued that he would have come to LA anyways, which
because of all of his other.
We're never going to know what that is. And of course, there was a little bit of an outlier there, and that Magic Johnson was involved. And Magic Johnson is good at making people feel good. He is good at closing. The problem is he's terrible everywhere else. So maybe that relationship was good because you had the business side that Jeannie and Rob seem to do, but they can't close. Well, and of course, Magic Johnson doesn't seem to understand the rules of his job, but can do what Magic Johnson does well, which is represent Magic Johnson. It's just wow, I didn't know we were gonna have 2 Jamies all at once.
There you go.
But
back to one.
There's a missing aura here. The aura is that the Lakers are not a place to go work. No one wants to go work with Jeannie or Rob or LeBron or Anthony Davis. If you're going to get something out of this, it looks like none of those people entice anyone to go want to work with them. And that, unfortunately, is sad commentary. And depressing, no, not really depressing, but more just unfortunate and going to only further push the focus on possibly going another direction.
Also here today, a good man indeed. He is one of the heads of the Lakerholics.com crew, which includes probably the crying Laker Tom right now. It is Jamie Sweet, Admiral Akbar himself. You should have said that the Lakers were laying a trap, and unfortunately, Dan Hurley didn't fall into it. Again, the reported offer was 6 years, $70 million, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, as we had talked about over the weekend. You need to overpay for a candidate like this to take him away from his comfort zone. And the Lakers, according to what he gets paid or what may get paid in the future at UConn, 6 years, $70 million isn't going to do just that.
I mean, look, I think Joe put it perfectly. There's a problem with cheapness. It's as simple as that. There's a problem with cheapness. And they can say everything they want to say. This is what's going to happen. It's going to be JJ Redick or Borrego or whoever. And it's going to be just like the Ty Lue debacle. Hey, choice number 2. We totally believe in you. You're amazing. We kind of wanted you all along. It's just that other guy, he was cute, And
Jamie, did we lose you? Yeah, we lost it again.
It's a giant pile issue with Rob Pelinka. If Jeannie doesn't fire him, there's a trust issue with Jeannie. It is cheapness. Whoever's saying in the chat it's not cheapness, you're not understanding the pattern. You don't get it. You're not getting it. This is a pattern now. And if you don't look at patterns and deduce empirical evidence, that's on you, man. Like, I can't help people see the truth. I can only speak it.
It's about not understanding and not reading the room properly, SD Hydro. And it's just not understanding that you have to overpay someone to get them all to live all the way across the country. So
I mean, it comes down to the training staff. It comes down to this. How many
you,
times
Jamie.
do you need to?
There you go.
Oh, sorry.
You're bouncing all over the place, my friend. I can hear you now. Okay, go ahead.
I'm at work, so it's I don't have tons of time either because I'm at work. So it's just really annoying because I don't know how many times people need to see the same movie before they realize this is what it is. It's from the top down, and they're not changing anything. They're not doing anything different.
You needed life-changing money, and this wasn't it.
It's just lipstick on a pig.
Jamie, I think we're losing you again. Let me go ahead and bring it over to Henry Hill,
I'll see you around.
who is with us now. No worries, my friend. No worries. I appreciate you being here as always, my friend. But Henry Hill, right here with us, my friend, a guy behind Courtside Lakers on Instagram. Bloodhound, I think, says it best. Not to say he doesn't deserve 100 million, and nobody's here saying that he does or doesn't deserve 100 million. But to have somebody like him who's a success where he's at, winning 2 championships in a row, you need to convince him that it's worth his time and money to move his life and his family from one side of the country to the other, taking away from what he does better than anybody right now in college basketball. And 6 years and 70 million, like I said before, Henry, it's just not it.
No, I thought it would be more than that based off what I've been seeing online. Granted, no one really has sources. Everyone claims they're an insider nowadays, but 670 seems low. And in order to close a deal with someone of this stature, as you guys said, 2-time in a row national champ, you need to overpay him. It doesn't matter if he deserves it or not. You need to overpay him. If you want to get your guy, you got to pay top dollar to get him. And if we believe what they're saying, that the Lakers, this was their guy all along, which I don't believe, you need to overpay. And I feel like 6 years, 70 million isn't going to cut it. I know it's just not only compensation, but you guys, there's a point where we have to ask the question. Rob Pelinka is not a closer. He can't close deals. We've seen this movie before already a couple times. So yeah, that's all I have for now. You guys pretty much have made my points. I do want to say, Joe, maybe you got a double whammy though, because Mike Tomlin just agreed to a 3-year extension. I don't know if you saw that.
Did you see that, Joe? Joe, are you there?
That was expected. Unfortunately, we're going to have to watch 500 ball for another 3 years in Pittsburgh. But
and on a day that Darvin Ham, like you said, accepts the assistant's job in Milwaukee.
I'm gonna answer Mission's question. He asked how I would close this deal. That's an interesting question, especially for a question that I'd probably need a few minutes to think about. But to put it simply, if you're going to change the culture of your franchise, which it's weird because it's a hard question to answer because the culture would never change where I'm at. The culture is about winning. It's about closing. It's about being the best. And while Jeannie and Rob and most people in general talk the game, their actions don't talk the game. The actions is other things. I don't have anybody in my family, and I don't have anybody in my family that works with me directly, because they're not capable of doing it. It's not because I'm trying to be mean or anything. It's just there's a certain way you have to do things for it to work. And friends as well. And we know the talk of, well, you don't never work with your friends and your family. That's not true either. It's a matter of circumstance. It's a matter of, will it make sense? I don't care about where you're from, who you are, what your nationality is, family member or not family member. If you could do the job, then you're good for the job. If you can't do the job, then you're done. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. So let's say there's two instances here I'm going to put so that I can answer this question. Number one, was it enough money? Yes, I think that was enough money. However, I don't know where $100 to $120 million came from. The other is, would Dan Hurley have true decision-making power? This is something that hasn't been discussed in the last 45 minutes. We don't
Subscriber,
know that.
huh?
We
Cool.
don't know if that was something that they laid on the table and said, listen, we're going to let you decide the majority of the decision-making on the draft and what kind of talent you want to bring in here. And if that's the case, then were they really paying him just to coach, or were they paying him to be a pseudo GM too? Is that a responsibility that he wanted? It really depends on what the offer really was. Will we ever know? Will we know that he had power in the draft or some kind of say in trades? We don't know any of that. And we don't know if it's, and looking at how the Lakers have run their organization, it's probably not. So why would he go there? So that he could be a lame duck coach that makes a lot of money? Sure. But do you really want to deal with all that? Especially with what's going on in New York right now? That job might open up in a year or two. Maybe that's the best job for him. Maybe that's something he thought about. I'm just throwing that out there. So if you wanted to get Hurley, if the Lakers really wanted to get Hurley, yes, I believe that $100 to $120 million number was actually a number thrown. This is a theory. It was a number that was thrown out publicly to basically tell the Lakers that's what you need to get him here. And they were still dumb enough to not get it. Why am I getting
70 is enough, just for the record.
Why am I thinking that? Some small business schmuck out in the middle of nowhere in Temecula. Why? Someone who's never owned $1 million, billion-dollar franchise, someone who's never went elbows with all these rich pricks that are out there. Sorry for the curse word, but it's another rhyme on that one, right? Why would I be thinking that? That was the offer, guys. That was the leak. The leak was 100, 115, 120. Those are the numbers I heard. You wanted to get Dan Hurley? You got to give him that number. It was out there. They told you what he wanted without actually telling you. And what happened? You came up, what is it, Sean? Half staff? You know, you get the girl you want that night, and all of a sudden it's not all the way down, but it's halfway down. It's still not good. Half or full is still bad.
You can't raise the flag, Joe.
Yeah, you can't do it. So it's just comical. It's comical that how inept
a floppy offer.
Yeah,
so
you're
saying it wasn't as hard as a brick.
I knew you'd get a kick out of that as we segue to your comments. So take it away from there, Sean.
Well, let me just go put in there. Arthur, thank you so much for the super chat. He said, sorry, this was a leverage move to get more money. He never intended to sign with the Lakers in the first place. But thank you so much, Arthur, for the super chat. Do you agree with that sense, Sean? Because Magic Man is also here.
I agree with so there's an objective part of what Arthur said and a subjective part. The objective part is that yes, it was leverage. It's obviously that's what he was
games.
using.
All about games.
However, you can't, that it's subjective from Arthur's point of view that he never intended to sign with the Lakers. We'll never know that unless it comes out of Dan Hurley's mouth. It's subjective. whether or not you believe he would have signed with the Lakers. When the word compelling was used yesterday, it was like, that's interesting. Like that's really a neutral word, more or less. That it was okay. So Gerald, do you remember when Will Wade was under investigation by the FBI and the NCAA when he coached at LSU?
Vaguely, but yes.
Yeah, when he said he made a strong ass offer to a player. Yeah, it compelling isn't the same as strong ass offer. It's compelling means I thought about it, but I mean we'll never really know. Obviously, now we know where the leak didn't come from the Lakers. The leak came from Dan Hurley.
Yeah.
We know that now. So Stone had thought previously, as along with a lot of the rest of us, that leak might have come from the Lakers camp, but actually came from Hurley. Now that the smoke is cleared. So couple thoughts. One is I've heard he's been offered. Zingerstein mentioned in an email that Hurley's been offered an extension by UConn, but I can't find any verifiable sources on that. And obviously the offer wasn't strong enough to convince Hurley to leave UConn in Connecticut. 6 years, 70 million with the taxes in LA. What does that really come out to in the end? So if he's
$10.
$10.
I'm
Just say
kidding.
half the money. Is
Yeah,
Half the money. Half the money. So he'd end up with 35 million over 6
tax
years.
friendly either, though, guys. Where he's from isn't as tax friendly as you would think.
Connecticut's not that much.
Right. So you'd have to offer him a little bit more.
You're talking about him packing up his stuff and going from a place where he is the number one coach in college basketball to a place where there's no definitive plan, there's no definitive personnel. He doesn't have the 100% personnel decisions, as I was arguing with Joe on that. Rob is not just going to sit back and say, okay, it's your team now. I will take input from you, but I won't go ahead and do. Yeah, Rob Pelinka was just not going to go ahead and relinquish control.
Then it's what Henry was talking about. Then if he wouldn't relinquish control of much of the personnel, then he's not a good closer.
Devotion says we're overlooking a simple possibility that his wife said no. So men have their wives.
So look, and again, I know Joe vehemently disagrees with this because it's a man's world and a man makes decisions. But there's a saying, "Happy wife, happy life." And when they didn't invite Andrea Hurley out to LA, what are you gonna do, Gerald? You gonna call up your wife and say, "Yeah, honey, let's pack up our things and move to LA"? Oh, wait a second. Kids are here, family's here. I've got a good job here. I'm from the East Coast. I'm a Jersey girl. I'm just not gonna up a pack and move from. So here's another story, and this.
By the way, guys, Sean, before you go, I just saw on TV. Woj said it was a timing thing.
Well, he was gonna leave UConn high and dry with no chance of getting a viable head coach either.
I didn't want to cut you off for that.
That's okay. We're in. So just as an example, when Chris Pronger won a Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks, he was traded to the Edmonton Oilers, the Siberia of Canada, and they gave up a lot to get him. You know what happened, Gerald? About halfway through the wintertime, Chris Pronger told the Edmonton Oilers that I want to trade. And the reason why he wanted to trade is because his wife wasn't happy in Edmonton. They gave it a shot, and she wasn't happy, and Pronger went to the Oilers and said, trade me. And he got traded to the Philadelphia Flyers. you have to involve a person's family if you're going to make a life altering decision like this. And I agree with everybody who's saying that. I know Joe, and I'm sure there's a small minority of people who would say, "Well, who gives what about what his wife thinks?" Well, I mean, that's his wife, and she's a Jersey girl. She's from the East Coast. She got her family there. You have to think about all these things. And again, I was just thinking to myself, what, like, of all people, if Jeannie Buss is so congenial, so nice, so happy go lucky, why wouldn't she say, maybe we should let's invite Andrea Hurley to the meeting too, and because we need to convince her as much as we need to convince Dan. Nope, obviously didn't enter into the thought process.
Well, again, it is the Lakers getting spurned by Dan Hurley, who says no to the Lakers' reported 6 years, $70 million. Joe, I bring it back to you. Again, we're hearing as far as the follow-up to that. Yeah, Woj is on ESPN right now. Henry confirmed that right now, talking about the particulars. But yeah, this is truly a disappointing time. We felt, and I said this over the course of the weekend, that the longer this goes, the less likelihood it was going to happen. And sure enough, we didn't know the particulars about the money, which is something I wish I would have known ahead of time. I would have told you flat out then. You would have said flat out then that's not enough. So we move on to plan B or plan C or plan D. We've been through this before. That's how we got Vogel in the first place. So Vogel, and then we ended up screwing him over in the process as well. So I don't know, Joe. Where do we go from here at
They're
this
just
point?
not good. They're not good.
It isn't good.
Jeannie is not a good business person. Rob is a clown. I mean, let's call it what it is. This isn't something we're assessing because of feelings. This is this is facts. This is information that you're seeing right now. These guys have no idea what the hell they're doing. Absolutely no idea what the hell they're doing. And this business is about closing deals. That's all this business is about. Yeah, you have to draft people. Yeah, you have to have somebody demand a trade or whatever. But after that, it's closing deals. But they don't close deals. Look at the Celtics. Let's talk about the Celtics here, since we got an NBA Finals going on here. The Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know what the hell's going on over there. And today was even a bigger head scratcher. Why would you bring back Darvin Ham? That guy's a disaster. You didn't learn enough last 2 years. You let go of Drew Holiday so that you can get Dame Lillard. And you basically hand your main competitor in the East, a championship. Drew Holiday right now is the Finals MVP. Drew Holiday, in a lot of ways, probably should have been the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He's been more valuable than anybody on that team in my book. I know Jaylen Brown is a good player and Jason Tatum are good players, but in terms of the actual series, I feel like he's made all the impact plays. And looking at Milwaukee and looking at LA, they run their organizations pretty much the same way. And maybe this is just what we have to continue to watch. And for them, they're not going to lose out financially. We're still watching. We got on here as soon as the news came out that this didn't work out, and we're talking about it. And they really have no reason to. They really don't have any reason to change. Really, I mean, I guess they could, but I don't know if it has anything to do with change. I don't think they're just not capable of doing the job. Sometimes we have to come to grips that people are not capable of doing the job, folks. They're not good at their job. All these failures in businesses, all these things going on in the video game world, Hollywood, these are all people that don't know what the hell they're doing. That's why everything's crumbling. It's greed, it's stupidity, it's people being put in positions that shouldn't be in that position. And a lot of these people that are put in these positions for political reasons or for social reasons, you put anybody in a position for political or social reasons, it always ends up bad if they're not good. They're not good at their job, it's going to fail. And right now, the Lakers can't convince anyone with any real talent to come to LA and coach the LA Lakers. That's how bad.
All they're looking at right now is a podcaster and retreads and some assistant coaches. And it's not appealing, Joe. It's not appealing at all.
Yeah.
They also are, this is probably the worst Lakers front office that we've had ever, maybe.
Because Mitch Kupchak at least had a couple of trades that saved him out, a couple free agent signings that ruined him, but a couple free trades that saved him. So,
Deep Purple, no. Trying, unfortunately, isn't enough. Yes, before the answer came, you can say this is good that they're going for the fences, but unfortunately, if you're a batter and you have bases loaded and the bases are loaded and you try to hit one out of the park when you need one run, that's a stupid decision.
That participation trophy, anyone?
Yeah, this is a hot and cold business. There is no warm. Either you're hot or you're cold. And when you're the LA Lakers, you have to stay hot. That's the pressure.
And that's disappointing because the Lakers, again, get spurned by Dan Hurley.
If they're not the worst front office ever, they're definitely the worst in terms of closing. That there's no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lakers front offices, even with Jack Kent Cook back in the 60s, that racist pig, scumbag, that's what he was, folks. Even he was able to get players to come to LA. Will Chamberlain came to LA, and they were able to eventually win a championship before he sold the team. And he was able to get Kareem in 1975. And Jerry West took the Lakers to the Western Conference Finals, even though they were injury riddled and lost to the Portland Trail Blazers in 77. There was always something like that going on. But I don't know if in this last, other than LeBron James, whom you needed Magic Johnson to likely close that. I would, if I had a DeLorean that I could go back in time, I'd like to play with some history a little bit and see if just take Magic Johnson out of that equation. Does LeBron James come to LA? From what I'm seeing right now, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. Magic is the closer there, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not saying bring back Magic. I'm just saying for that particular time,
I understand.
You needed Magic to say, because think about the time, right? You had this perfect situation where LeBron knew he can't play for Dan Gilbert anymore. He wanted to leave. Well, the Lakers had an open slot for money. Cool. He doesn't have to demand a trade there and then fleece the roster. So he comes to LA. Magic's waiting outside his gate at 12:59, 11:59, whatever the hell time. The only time he actually followed the rules and was able to close LeBron James in a situation where we still don't really know if that would have really mattered anyways. Let's just say it would. Let's say it does, just to, for discussion purposes. But really, LeBron looked like he was coming to LA regardless. But right now, since then, we haven't really had much. We haven't really able to do. And I'm not counting AD because that was likely a clutch move. That was a clutch move with LeBron tied to it. They all probably knew that they were going to eventually get Anthony Davis to demand a trade to LA.
Yeah, for the comment that says like Rob is not that bad, he is trying. I mean, it's the NBA. You can't really just try. If we're just trying, you're in the situation you're in now where you don't have a coach. And how do you go back to the other options? Like, you're going to call up JJ Redick? Just be like, hey, man.
What did Yoda say, Gerald? Do or do not.
Exactly.
There is no try. Guys, I'm sorry. This isn't selling paper clips at Staples. Okay, you tried to sell an extra box. This is not retail.
You're not a bank teller where at the end of the day you tell your manager, well, I tried to sell 3 credit cards to customers today, but tomorrow I will try more. This is
They
like, did you get the job done or not?
They tried to get Kawhi Leonard. At that time, it didn't work out. Sure, we can say we tried. But when it keeps becoming a we tried, now it becomes a trend. And even looking back at something as simple as that, they should have been able to convince Kawhi Leonard to come to LA even then. They should have convinced him. You know how? They should have said, Kawhi, we know you're trying to protect that knee. Come to LA. You got a lot of pressure off you. We'll win 3 straight championships with you, and we'll monitor you. And you'll make more money from endorsements, and you'll win more championships in a Laker jersey. And you won't have to worry about running out of gas at the end of the year like you have in LA with the Clippers, which is exactly what happened. Why? Because they needed him. They need him to perform. Whereas he wouldn't have needed to put it on 100% all year round, would have saved them for the playoffs. Lakers would have won likely more championships with him, and he would have won as well. So these are the type of things they're not doing, folks. They're not doing this. They're not able to convince these guys of those things. They're also not capable of.
One thing I would like to add to Joe's comment there, a good general manager, vice president, whatever you want to call it, of any team, organization, sports, NHL, MLB, whatever, NBA, even an owner, there comes a point in time where you can't just hide all the time. We never hear from these people when it's going wrong. But as soon as one good thing happens, they're everywhere. That's like for me personally, just in generally speaking, that's the sign that these people are not fit for the job.
Maybe Sean is going and getting the mask because he didn't have his mask on. He was so mad and angry at the Lakers. He didn't have his mask on. So maybe he's going to get that. But once again, it is the Lakers fast break. The Lakers, unfortunately, are still without a coach after Dan Hurley spurns the Lakers and their reported 6 years, $70 million offer, reported by Adrian Wojnarowski. One thing I think this has taught us, Joe, which is something we discussed over the weekend, is all these insiders, all these reporters that supposedly are in this inner circle. We've talked about this for years, but we talked about it lately about how a lot of them have had egg on their face, and the Lakers now have egg on their face as an organization once again. And it just seems like what this whole news cycle has done, Joe, is just perpetuate all the negatives about the Lakers, all the negatives about the Lakers reporters, and all the negatives about what sports reporting is right about now.
This was a unique situation where Woj knew the family. That's how he got the information. This wasn't under some undeveloped or unknown talent that Woj all of a sudden accumulated in the last year to create this path of knowing what was going on. This was simply a friend who allowed him to benefit from this information. And I highly recommend everyone, other than during, and if that's something that you're into, other than the first few days of free agency, there's no point in following Shams or Woj or any of these guys. They're not that good. The game is, do you really need to know at 11:38 versus 11:40? What in your life is going to change in those 2 minutes? You go on some message board and you can share it? Is that how low your life is? Is that how pathetic your life has gotten? You're not getting paid for it, are you? If you're getting paid for it, okay, sure. But these guys don't really do anything. I don't understand the issue. I don't understand the attention to it. I really don't. I don't need to know at 11:38. I can know at 11:40 when 400 people share it.
Yeah.
I just don't see the point. I don't see the benefit. So more than that is the Lakers are the Lakers are trying line is just unfortunate because it's just trying is they need to go, guys. They need to go. Rob Pelinka's a clown and Jeannie is a terrible owner. And nothing's going to change.
I got to jump off. I'll see you guys.
Thank you, Henry, for stopping by. Truly appreciate it, my friend, as always. Courtside Lakers on Instagram. Follow us there. And then, of course, also big shout out to Sean Grice and also as well Jamie Sweet for stopping by.
What bothers me about it is I cannot figure out why Kobe Bryant liked this guy. I can't figure it out. I don't know if he was different when Kobe was alive. Maybe I'm telling myself that to make me feel better about the Kobe thing. Maybe Rob Pelinka showed his true self after Kobe died. I used the analogy of the matriarch or the patriarch when they pass away in a family, and all of a sudden the brothers and sisters and their true selves come out because now they don't have an authoritative figure that could kind of put them in their place. I don't know what it is. This guy is not good. And Jeannie is allowing herself to be put in this position for a dead man. Someone who's dead. Someone who's not even here anymore. Her first decision at this point in my book actually should be, I need another decision maker in here. I need someone who knows what the hell they're doing. Rob does not know what he's doing, and he can't close deals. He needs to go. You're going to hire JJ Redick, Borrego. You're going to put Borrego in a position where this guy has to coach the LA Lakers. The guy has coached the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, that's not good. You're putting JJ Redick in a position from horrible podcaster to a horrible color guy to what? Now he's going to be a great coach with no coaching experience, no front office experience a little bit maybe. Also, you're not coming into a freshly new, about to blow up dynasty like Phil in Chicago in 1990, like Phil in 2000, like with the Lakers, like Steve Kerr in 2015. Like Popovich right before they drafted Tim Duncan. There's a correlation on why those first timers in those situations were successful, because it was they were the last line to get it over the hump. He's not coming into any last line to go over the hump. They're going backwards. And you're expecting me to now hitch my wagon to this guy who's going to all of a sudden communicate with people to get back on defense? It's just not, it doesn't make sense for me to believe that. Omaris, yes, Jay Wright was my pick 2 years ago. Matter of fact, he was my pick after the 2008 domination.
I can support that.
Domination of Villanova. 2008 domination of the NCAA. But unfortunately, no one listens to me.
I'm going to give you credit on that. Yes, you actually said that from the get-go here since you came.
That was the guy we wanted, and that would have been the perfect guy. Again, on the ascension, right? You were going to get LeBron. You were going to get AD. That was the guy that had the pro-style offense, the guy that had the look, the feel, the communication, the demeanor, and the feistiness of a Pat Riley. You want to see a Pat Riley? Go to Jay Wright. Jay Wright was Pat Riley of today. I mean, the epitome of everything Pat Riley is Jay Wright. Right now, probably the timing is off, unfortunately. He's probably like, look, I did my time. He's going to the Hall of Fame, College Hall of Fame. He's got titles. He's got a really good job. He'll never have to worry about working again, really, other than talking basketball. And to me, I don't consider that working So, but I tell you what, if they happen to convince Jay Wright, then you'll be probably seeing me on here for hours just going crazy.
But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day to go ahead and check us out. The Lakers, once again, have been spurned after they fielded an offer to Dan Hurley from UConn, who has decided to stay at UConn. It's interesting because Zangerstein sent us a post on the Twitter from Evan Sidery, who is a reporter from Forbes, stating that Kentucky reached out to Dan Hurley and made an offer in the realm of $11 million per year, reportedly. And the Lakers offer was 11.6, supposedly, if you read between all that. So again, you could take that for what it's worth. He has decided to stay in UConn, spurn both the Lakers and supposedly Kentucky as well. That's just great for the Lakers. Where we go from here is anyone's guess, but yes, now the Lakers, will they become, Joe, infatuated, as Sham said before previously, with their initial Riley-esque, which was another superlative that was given to JJ Redick, the podcaster extraordinaire?
Can't convince.
You hear my voice, you could just tell I'm being so
you can't
thrilled.
if you can't convince Dan Hurley of coming to LA, I don't know how the hell you would convince Jay Wright to come.
Yeah, well, because he doesn't have many other options. It's just this in Cleveland, and Cleveland may not be, interested in his services.
Yeah, it would. I don't think Jay Wright would work with this.
Oh, Jay Wright won't come here. It's going to be JJ or James Borrego. Most likely.
It's not good. It's not a good thing, folks. And we try to stay positive because we can't be negative all day, every day. It's impossible.
But we tell you like it is. We don't feed you a line of BS.
But there are some times where you have to just start getting, okay, well, this makes sense and that makes sense. And okay, well, let's see how it plays out. But the results are what they are. And the results right now are you have a GM who doesn't know how to build a team. Matter of fact, it's the opposite. He knows how to destruct the team and doesn't have closing abilities. And Jeannie has put her trust and her franchise in that person's hand. So therefore, it is her fault at the end of the day because you're the ultimate decision maker. You're the ultimate decision maker here. So we can't. There's no way you can fire Jeannie, really, unless you stop going to the games. But too many people want to watch themselves on the jumbotron and play with their phones enough to go to these games regardless.
Or smile for the kiss cam or something like that.
And we have to also understand that sports today are different than it's ever been in the history of sports. You don't need people to come to the games anymore. We already saw that with COVID. They lost a little bit of money. That's about it. TV contracts are all that matter, and TV contracts are going to continue to pay.
They tried to recoup the money from COVID by doing the PPP loan.
Yeah. And then when they got caught or when they got found out, they immediately returned the money. That tells you everything about who they are. That tells you everything right there. Sometimes it's just a little thing, folks. We made a mistake. Look, a franchise that can sell for $10 billion making a deal like that is not a mistake. That is who you are. You are using the system. The same people who try to use the system criticize other people who want to do their own system. That's the hilarious part about all that stuff. They're putting up all the flags and all the support and all the this is this month and this is that month. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. And then when anybody calls them out on it, oh, well, you're just this person over here. You're this person and you're that person. I'm like, no, you are. But everyone's afraid, right? They're afraid of confrontation. Did I ever tell you my elevator story
No,
Gerald?
actually, go ahead by all means.
Okay, folks, I want you to do this. It's going to be very, very hard for you to do this. I can do it because I don't give a crap and I don't have any shame. I want you to do me a favor, everybody that's listening, Gerald, including you, and anybody else that's in our panel. If you ever go into a busy elevator, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to make sure it's full and then you're the last guy. You know that uncomfortable feeling you have that you wait for the next elevator? Ignore that feeling and go into the elevator when it's really packed. There's only one thing I want you to do different from the people that are in there. Do not turn around. Everybody goes in and turns around and faces the elevator door, right?
I've done that. Yeah,
Don't do it. Stand face to face with everyone in a busy elevator.
It gets weird.
And do not, this is the key here though. That's easy. If you have your head down, it doesn't count. I want you to look up and just stare, just scan the room.
Because they're all looking at
Don't
you.
be weird and stare at somebody directly for too long, but just kind of scan and just do this. And I want you to tell me what happens. That right there, folks, you will see how people react anywhere. People don't want confrontation. People don't want to look at some stranger in the eye. They get scared. Now, imagine in a meeting. This has happened so many times. Michael Caine, the great Michael Caine, had a thing about eye contact that's on YouTube. I'm not going to get into that, but when you look at people in the eye while they're talking, you could emasculate them in seconds. It's a powerful thing. And the point I'm trying to get to here is there aren't too many of those guys left. There aren't too many of those guys that can sit down, be confident, put their shoulders up, and basically say, with knowledge too, with common sense, that this is a terrible idea, this is bad, this isn't going to work, this is what needs to get done. And not everybody is as privileged as the Palinkas, the Genies, and all these. And you know, privilege is not home sometimes. Privilege is genetics. I'd like to think I'd have a different life if I was 6'9". You know what I mean? Privilege comes in different ways. Some people can do it, some people can't. Some people embrace their privilege and want to be better, and some don't. Some don't have the privileges and still ascend. Timing, luck, all that stuff factors in. Life a lot of times is chance. It is chance. It is timing. So we are starting to get to a point now where we're really not dealing with any more chances anymore, folks. It's not about luck. It's not about chance. It's not about anything anymore. Right now, we have a bunch of people in an elevator running this Laker team that cannot look up to the guy who's staring them right in the face. Some stranger. They can't stare. They're just sitting there doing this. You want those kind of people running your organization? I don't.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching. I seem to give everybody an update if you've not heard already.
Sorry, Gerald.
Turn down the Lakers off.
Is it Anazatsi?
Yes.
I would never bring kids to LA. Okay. We talk about Anazatsky. Great point, by the way. I was just in LA. Okay. LA, right around Staples. I'm not calling it crypt anymore.
It's not
Staples.
great around
Staples. It is a toilet, folks.
I was just there
it's a
couple months ago. Yes.
Literal toilet. I'm parking across the street from the JW Marriott. And I back into my little spot like I always do. I always think that I got to get out of there quick, which is why I back in my vehicles all the time anywhere I go. And the second I walk out of my truck, it smells like there's no porta potty anywhere. There is no bathroom that would be an open bathroom somewhere in and around that area. It's an open freaking parking lot. It smelled like urine. I'm talking urine like I just took a urination right there and I'm smelling it. And then you have graffiti on top of 20 stories. Graffiti on 20 stories. Graffiti on a billboard, graffiti on a wall where a human can actually walk and spray. We're talking about 20 stories these guys are hanging out from, and the whole area is graffiti. No mother wants their kids around that garbage. No one. LA. I'm hearing they're cleaning it up a little bit. I don't know what that means. But LA, San Francisco, New York City. New York wasn't as bad when I was there in December. But yeah, I don't know if I'd want to be driving in there if I'm a family person who is not used to seeing that kind of stuff. Just saying, that could have played a factor too.
Well, we'll see what happens. But again, the Lakers, they get spurned by Dan Hurley, who heads back to UConn. Again, the Lakers reported offer 6 years, $70 million, just not enough to bring Dan Hurley away from UConn to come over across the country to coach the Lakers. So the Lakers, again, without a coach, still without a coach, a lot of egg on their face, a very embarrassing moment again for the team who has experienced outside of a championship in the bubble, a lot of embarrassing moments. Where do you think this started? Do you think this started in those years that they were spurned by free agents? What was it? Kevin Durant spurned them. A couple other free agents spurned them. There was one player, LaMarcus Aldridge, who I guess maybe as just a token gave an interview for the Lakers, but he was also spurning the Lakers. It just seems like in the past decade that the spurning of the Lakers, just because the Lakers show up and say, here we are because of our past and our legacy, you're going to come here, right? It just seems like it's so much easier now to say no to the Lakers.
So in the movie The Gladiator, Marcus Aurelius is a real guy in the past, but Gladiator is a fictional story. It's made up. A lot of it is made up, obviously. Some truths in there, but a lot of it is made up, right? Marcus Aurelius knew his son and his daughter at that time, because women didn't run things, right? Like you need to. He knew his son wasn't good enough. So he was trying to bequeath his empire, his legacy to his general. But he's not a family member, right? Like he was going off. He knew his son was not good enough. Dr. Buss made one crucial mistake before he passed away, God rest his soul. He didn't allocate the team to the right people. He tried to pigeonhole his family into this, hoping they would come out the right way. They're not. Johnny, Jim, Jeannie. No matter how many times they say Jeannie is Dr. Buss, you are out of your gall. You are convincing yourselves of something that is not true. Jeannie was never Dr. Buss. She will never be Dr. Buss, and neither were his sons. He needed to put this franchise in somebody else's hands, and it's likely it shouldn't have been a family member. And that's it. That's the bottom line. And right now, you're reaping the benefits of it, or I should say the regression of it. And you can call it whatever you want. Oh, well, they grew up privileged. Back again to that. Well, there's plenty of, look at what's going on in Kansas City. Why is Clark doing so well? His father was a freaking great. Lamar Hunt was a great owner, one of the pioneers of the NFL in general with the AFL. Why is Clark flourishing? He hires Andy Reid at a time when people are like, I think he's done. He listens to Andy Reid. Andy Reid, the greatest probably offensive play caller in NFL history. And that's with guys like Don Coryell and Bill Walsh there, right? In the history of the NFL. So it's not, oh, well, this guy's, it's so easy to just put words in, right? Privileged. No, Clark's doing almost a better job than his dad in a lot of ways. So it's not a family thing. It's not a privilege thing. You think, okay, he grew up in it, but he's still performing. So you can't lay it on that. So at the end of the day, it's not really about that. It's about they're not capable of doing the job. That's it. Forget about the whys and whats. They're not good enough. Chuck Noll, I've said this, I don't know how many times on this show. Chuck Noll, first day of practice, 1969. At that time, the Steelers were the most losing team in NFL history at the time. He goes, guys, I've watched the film. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And what's gone on has nothing to do with your attitude, has nothing to do with your want and your needs and, going out there and whatever. It's just you're not good enough. You're just not good enough. Sometimes it's that simple. They're not good enough. Are you going to keep shoveling that sand into the tides? Are you going to keep doing that, hoping you get it all out? It's not going to happen, folks. Rob sucks at his job. Jeannie sucks as an owner. It's just what it is. For this to change, the only way for this to change is if Jeannie realizes she sucks and hires the right leader, GM, VP, whatever the hell the title is, and lets that person build a team.
But I will say now that
that to feed the baby time?
No, I was just waking up. I had every 2-hour alarm in case the Lakers did something. So I was going to check Twitter every 2 hours based off, and didn't need to ever get to noon because you know what? Dan Hurley spurned the Lakers before lunchtime here in the.
Well, you knew that was going to happen. I think it took a little bit longer than they wanted it to.
Well, I said it over the weekend. I stated over the weekend, the longer this goes, the less likelihood we're going to get him, because the more he had to think about it, the more he talked to his wife about it, the more he talked to his family about it, the more he talked to UConn about it, the less likely he was going to jump. It was going to be something where you blow him, Joe, you blow him over with a $100 million offer or some big offer, and you get him right away. You get him to commit. Tell me yes or no, because you know the more he's going to think about it, the less likelihood he's going to go.
Probably that would have worked, but I have
him right at the door. You get him right at the door.
I have a very good feeling that it was not the money that actually he said no to. He said no because they're just not structured correctly, and he didn't want to be involved in it. What happened with LaMarcus Aldridge? Remember? They kept talking about, garbage that they don't even know who the guy was. They're putting Tobey Maguire in videos and showing him. He probably doesn't even know who the hell Tobey Maguire is.
That was the Kupchak era, though, right?
Who's in charge?
Was it still Jeannie Buss at that time, or were they still arguing over
the Buss family? It's
the Buss family,
kids.
But it was
the Buss kids. Yes.
Yeah. I just know. I think at that time they were still fighting over. But you're right. It was the Buss kids as plural.
It's still the common denominator is the Buss kids. Why all of a sudden a GM like Mitch Kupchak? There are 4 transactions he made that if anyone else made these deals other than the Lakers, he'd be a Hall of Fame GM. Okay. Number 1, he convinced Karl Malone and Gary Payton to come to LA for nothing. Of course, Shaq had to be a jerk and take all the credit for that, which it's stuff like that really irritate me about Shaq even to this day, because a lot of the things he says now really bother me half the time, because he's such a good guy. He's such a giver. He's such a philanthropist. He said, he's good to people. That part is good. But I don't like when he talks about the past, because I knew what I watched back then. And Shaq lies about that stuff. Shaq did not like Kobe. And when he says he did it for marketing purposes, it's an even bigger insult. So with that, Mitch brings in Gary Payton and Karl Malone for nothing. The Lakers are 3 games away from winning a championship in a season that was unprecedented. Okay, we all know what happened that year. A lot of just crazy stuff you can't put on anyone other than the players. He gets Trevor Ariza out of Orlando, who ends up being an integral part, the X factor in the 2009 title run. He gets Pau Gasol, in my opinion, the greatest Laker trade in history, because of its impact and its legacy-saving impact. He makes another, what could have been likely the number 1, in the Chris Paul trade. And we all know what happened there. Why all of a sudden a guy that's doing all this all of a sudden decides, you know what? We're going to go sign these two guys here that have no business being here. Well, the common denominator was the Buss family.
I think Pale, he's talking about, sooner, times. He's not talking about back when Dr. Buss was running it or anything like that.
I've had that thrown at me before. That's okay. I'll answer it.
Well, the Kareem trade is what
Kareem trade is, yes, the Kareem trade was pivotal. I get it. But Kareem kind of took himself out of Milwaukee to go to LA. That was something that was going to happen.
That was West, though, as the GM, was it not?
Yes. Yeah, it was involved. Yeah. I don't know if he was.
Or was it Sharman?
It was probably Sharman on the official tag, but Jerry was involved with some of that stuff too. But in terms of a trade that no one expected and the impact it had, I don't think there's a bigger trade than the Pau Gasol trade.
Lakers Nation, you realize Phil Jackson is 78 years old and probably would not be physically able to coach 82 games. I just want to make sure you know that he's
just
staying
so you
in
guys
Montana.
know, LeBron James hates Phil Jackson.
Yeah. Just it's not an option at this point. The Lakers just don't
And
have
Phil Jackson
a great
needs to
option.
go off into the sunset, folks. Phil Jackson's done enough.
We saw him once at the Kobe statue initiation right there, and unveiling and all that.
And that should have been enough to let you know that Phil Jackson is done.
Remember 10 years ago, we wanted to bring him back in structure time where they were contemplating him. You remember that, Joe, when they were talking about him only coaching home games and Kurt Rambis coaching the road games? Yeah, that should tell you now, 10 plus years later, that's not gonna. Yeah. No, Fox, you may be right on that one. But right now the Lakers are stuck between rock and a hard place right now because they it's very embarrassing, Joe. This just looks really bad for the organization. It's just the whole league and all their fan bases are laughing right now at the Lakers. Laughing. And it's well deserved.
Who's laughing?
All the other fan bases are trolling.
The Charlotte Hornet fan base? The Orlando Magic fan base?
It's the only time they get the chance to do so.
They need to go look at a mirror and laugh at that first. The Lakers are still the Lakers. They still have 17 banners up in the rafters. It's unfortunate that we have terrible closers, terrible basketball people at the head of this.
Darren, I think, again, I don't think Joe's going that far back when you're talking about transactions. I think he's just talking about the past, 15
Let me explain
years.
it again. Folks, I want you to focus here real quick.
Recently.
We're talking about impact. Okay.
After the 2010 title.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was coming to LA. He practically demanded a trade to LA.
But he's also Darren was talking about Kobe.
The Kobe trade was done at a time that no one drafted perimeter players out of high school. Kobe was the first perimeter guard player to go from high school to the NBA. The first. We don't know the impact at that time. Pau Gasol's trade was so impactful, it changed the team overnight to a 3 straight finals appearance team and a back-to-back championship team, saving Kobe's legacy. It had more impact, in my opinion, to the franchise and to its best player, arguably, than any trade in Laker history. That you had to have probably been there to really understand it.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, it's been great having everyone on.
Maybe I should say the most important. I know you can still say Kareem was important because he helped win 5 championships. True. But for me, Maybe because I wasn't there at that time, I don't know. But for me, that was something that was more impactful to me.
Well, if he does go to another NBA team, Pale Fox, it'll really show what the Lakers at this point are all about. But yeah, L Rob just sent me a message, Joe, that said, well, I guess Tom is a happy camper. His boy is the front runner again, that being JJ Redick. So JJ Redick is a guy who has not endeared us because of his recent comments made about past generations, but his alliance with LeBron, again, all that. And thank you, Turd War, for the comment. Imagine if Ballmer was our owner. Our ownership sucks. Yeah, I don't know, Joe, at this point, where do we go from here? But it just seems like it's a recycling. Although, when we did go to our third choice, Joe, the last time around, kind of worked out with a world championship.
And what did they do with that?
What they do?
just like what
I'm trying to get to the good part, Joe.
Just like to the Zubac drafts, just like we've the Caruso free agent pickup. You do these good things and then you crap on it.
JSJ, yeah, Bob Myers. And now, see, we didn't even get a chance to talk about this, Joe, because I was in Hawaii. The worst of all this situation was that Tim Conley agreed to stay on another year with Minnesota. So he didn't sign a long term. He just agreed to say, you know what? I'm going to let this ownership situation play out, whether it's Bloomberg and Rodriguez and all that stuff. I'm going to let the situation play out for another year and stay in Minnesota.
I think it's a smart move because you could possibly win a championship next year. Mm-hmm. Now that you have some experience under your belt. Plus, he might be saying also that if I have to take orders from Alex Rodriguez, I'm out next year. And you want to talk about chodes. There's no bigger chode. One of the biggest chodes you could be around is Alex Rodriguez. And that's not coming from me. That's coming. Well, I've observed Alex Rodriguez. He has that chodeness about him when I hear him talk. But everyone behind the scenes will validate that. Have validated that he is a chode. For those of you who don't know what a chode is, go look it up in a dictionary. It's not very.
Well, I already had to go ahead and recreate spurn. Like you told me before we went on the show, I had to put spurn in the chat because they were saying they had to look that up too. But
yeah,
it's just so funny. On a day where Apple.
If I want to use a elegant name or elegant word, I'd say he's very pretentious. He's a pretentious type of guy. One for Sean there. I know Sean would have appreciated that. He has a very high vocabulary.
Yes, he does.
He reads a lot.
I guess he was dealing with the dogs, which is why he couldn't put the La Sombra mask back on and come back on with us. But maybe we'll do a show tonight.
Why I don't have dogs?
Well, I told I was getting one soon here for the house. So I'm just so thrilled.
I've been waiting for someone to convince me to get a dog. And every time I'm about to pull the trigger, something dumb happens around some kind of a dog situation. And I give my kids and my wife a look.
Yeah, I told my kids, I said, if you want a dog, we'll get a dog, but you take care of the dog. Because
they're not going to take care of the dog.
No, you're going to get stuck with it. That dog.
You will be stuck with it. I will guarantee it.
Yeah, I know.
Like Joe Namath in Super Bowl III.
Yeah, I know. That's that feeling as well, my friend. But on a day where Apple has their big press conference to tell them the whole world how wonderful they are. And the biggest thing that they announced is the fact that they finally have a calculator app when, if you're an Android owner, you've had that all along. A calculator app was their big announcement. Whoop-dee freaking do. It is the Lakers getting spurned by Dan Hurley, who has decided to stay at UConn. I'd like to see if he gets a fat extension for doing so. We'll find out in the coming days. We'll see what's going on. But yes, the Lakers are still without a coach. They are now with a lot of egg all over their face. And we'll see what happens as far as which podcaster or retreads or unproven assistant coaches will go ahead and get the job. for the Lakers, and I'm sure we'll find that out hopefully sooner rather than later. But Rob Pelinka gets his way because he is still in charge of the Los Angeles Lakers, which is the detriment to us all. But again, we'll be here to talk about it at length. Joe, you feel up to a show tonight, or should we just wait until tomorrow?
Yeah.
More morning of groaning tonight? Why not?
Yeah. I think it's important that we continue the dialogue. I'm sure there's going to be more information that comes out between now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we have fresh information, which I believe we will.
I hope so too, my friend. And then we'll go ahead and make sure we report it to you. But once again, the Lakers do get spurned. For me, that's the key word right there, by the Lakers. Because Dan Hurley is not coming to LA. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I'm going to be curious to see. Let's see. We'll be curious to see who their ultimate decision will be. That the ultimate decision will be someone I think that maybe might surprise us. Maybe, I don't know.
It's like Groundhog Day all over. Yeah, it might be, like you said, just out of left field again, because they did it the first time around with Dan Hurley, but yeah, it's like Groundhog Day again. Oh, let's try another coach. Oh, let's mess up the offer to one coach. Oh, let's go ahead and third choice.
Jeannie should start focusing on things like cleaning up around that arena, by the way. She should start talking to LA and tell them, look, you guys are really screwing some of this stuff up too.
Pale Fox, anything is possible at this point.
I don't know if she
Phil
has that.
Jackson. I'm not going to put out the realm of possibility.
Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson going to LA? No.
I'm telling you, my friend, she will want a new arena at some point. She's going to moan and groan.
There's nowhere else to play, guys. She's
nowhere else to ask for a new arena.
She'd have to go to Irwindale.
She's going to ask for a new arena, I bet you. As soon as
she wanted a new arena, if she wanted a new arena, she should have made an effort to go back to Inglewood. Before
she's going to see that fancy new Balmer Dome in Inglewood, and she's going to say, I want one of those too. Build one for me with your tax dollars.
Oh, right. No.
Did
Balmer pay for that arena, by the way? Those guys don't pay for anything.
I think he did, but how much, I don't know.
Inglewood is broke. I don't know how they would have paid for anything anyways, right?
Well, it's the city of LA. Yeah, it's paying for it. And sometimes it's subsidized by, like here in Nevada, they're trying to subsidize.
Yeah, that's the stadium. That's Vegas and Nevada. Those guys are scumbags. The LA thing.
Well, thank you.
The LA thing is, and I mean the scumbags as in the people who run the casinos.
Yeah, I know.
That fleece people left and right. The Inglewood is not LA though.
City.
Inglewood is not LA though.
I'm just saying, again, I just think she'll want one because the Staples Center, it's getting longer in the tooth. It's not getting any younger. You can only retrofit it so many times. And she's going to see the Balmer Dome go up.
I don't think they're going to leave, Gerald, because they just built LA Live around it. The hotels are there.
Just built LA. LA Live's been there for 20 plus years, my friend. They
just need to clean it up.
I remember going there in 2008.
They just need to clean it up.
I just went there this year. Yeah, I understand they cleaned it up, but you know what they cleaned up? They cleaned up a block. Is what they've cleaned up.
They need to clean up that whole area.
I agree with you there. I was just there. I understand. I get that. But she will want a new arena.
If she wants a new arena, she can't build it anywhere in LA. There's no room. She's going to have to go to Irwindale.
We'll see.
Probably.
Possibly. I mean, or so.
Pasadena, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Back to Irwindale. Going back for the Raiders.
I know it'd be a much quicker drive there. That would help.
Yeah.
But I don't see any. I don't know if I see the initiative there in terms of putting the pressure on. Is it AEG?
Yeah, they're the current owners of See, she doesn't even own her own arena. She has
No,
to pay rent.
and the fact that they're in the top 10 franchises, imagine if they own the arena and the,
Yeah,
and the
Alan
property.
doesn't agree with me when I tell him Forbes keeps evaluating the Lakers as the number 3 team in the NBA. He just cannot fathom that the Warriors and the Knicks are worth more currently.
It's because they own their arenas. That's why the Lakers do not. If they owned it, if the Buss family owned the arena and the property, they would be number 1. If you notice, Mark Davis, the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, he was broke from NFL owner standpoint when he was in Oakland. The second he moved to Vegas, I think he's worth like $3.7 billion now.
SD Hydro, he's mentioning that from the Raiders because Irwindale still has it's the area in Southern California that still has plenty of a space to put something of the size of an arena or stadium there. That's right now.
You can go to Carson too.
Yeah, they could. Gardena,
Carson is a toilet though.
Yeah, that's
Carson's like a toilet.
I'm not gonna sit here and argue. I lived in the general direction of there. Yeah, I frequented there.
Sorry for those people who live in Carson.
It's not a toilet per se, but Carson's.
Look, they named it after a very, very popular frontiersman named Kip Carson. So that's good.
It could be updated, Carson. Let's just put it that way. So could Inglewood. Inglewood, outside of what's there on that street with the Forum, and thank you, Steve, for keeping the Forum because I love the Forum. So he could have knocked it down when he bought that area. So, actually, what was it Turd War? I think also clarified that. I think he paid for pretty much, although I'm sure he got some subsidies and some, glad handing by LA City Council or whatever for building it there. You don't do things unless you get some help or you get something in return for it. So
well, the Lakers.
I'm sure LA and the city of Inglewood didn't exactly say no to him building a arena that would draw money into that area.
Well, I'd say the Lakers are likely to, if they were to address this and be very, very thorough with it, it's probably Carson because you do have their facility is in El Segundo.
They did build a soccer stadium,
which is just 13 miles away. So it's unlikely that people would want to go from El Segundo.
Because that's where the Chargers played, right? For a little bit.
That's where they would have played.
I thought they did play there for a little bit.
I don't think so.
I think they did because remember they were there.
They did. Yeah, they played at the soccer stadium.
So much of the other teams. Mm-hmm. Fans were going there and it was like a home game for them.
Correct.
Yes. And not for the Chargers, which was funny in and of itself. But they could build it there. But I'm just getting back to, of course, the Lakers and the coaching situation. Again, we'll go ahead and keep on reporting on it. But just clearly egg and on our face right now and an embarrassment. But again, we will press on, Joe. We will press on and, I got to give you guys credit out there for watching us and sticking with it. I know we're all commiserate together, but any last thoughts of wisdom or assurance or comforting for our Lakers fans?
Yes, we still have to wait for this to play out. We'll see what the results are. It's really going to come down to the end of July when we really know how this team will, because the end game here, folks, is are the Lakers going to compete next year? How the parts are put together are important, but we still need to see the complete recipe. And that we're not going to really know what that is until not only they find a coach, we know what they're going to do at 17, at 55. Are they going to trade it? Are they going to acquire another player that of significance? There's so much other stuff going on. The reason why I was excited about this happening now is that we would have known that the coach would have had some dialogue in the next steps, which is the draft. Right now, it's not looking good. But we have to let this play out regardless who they get. And that's where they stand right now. As far as big picture wise, they're gonna. I would wish that the Lakers could somehow just let LeBron play out his last year. That would be if you don't get the right coach here and the right players, I would have preferred to just let LeBron play out his last year.
Yeah.
And then make a decision next year on what to do next.
Or have him walk this summer if he wants to.
I don't think he's going to walk. I think he's going to want his money. So I'd say probably take if they sat him down and they said, look, LeBron, we don't know what's going to happen next year. So if you can opt in, play your last year's contract. If things go well next year, we'll give you an extension. But if things don't go well, we have to go another way. And if he left this summer, then we're ahead of schedule. The Lakers are ahead of schedule, and they can start figuring out what the next step is. And no, it's not trading Anthony Davis. Because I'd rather build around Anthony Davis the next 2, 3 years, 4 years. Still got a lot in the tank.
Okay.
And that's it. I think it should be happening now anyways, to be honest with you. And I would get rid of Rob immediately.
It's funny. I'm going back and forth with L. Rob again, and we just can't wait to hear the young Pat Riley comparisons to JJ Redick that Laker Tom was doing constantly on his Twitter and Lakerholics.com. And yeah, be prepared, everyone.
Well,
be prepared.
To keep it friendly here. I think Tom needs to really put down the hippie lettuce. Because these analyzations are just they're not very clear thoughts. JJ Redick is in his dreams, he'll never touch anything that Pat Riley touches, let alone be a Pat Riley. There was only one guy that I could say is anywhere near that man, and that's the name right below me. And that guy is not coming here.
You never know. They could feel the same.
Boy, I'll tell you
Let me
what.
ask you this. Would 6 years, $70 million do it for Jay Wright? No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Money, folks. Money is not. Guys, if you didn't get enough proof already that money doesn't solve everything, the way things are going, everything around you right now in this world, okay, whether it's social, whether it's political, whether it's sports, look what money does, folks. Look what money has done to college sports. Nick Saban is gone. Jay Wright is gone. Roy Williams is gone. Oh, well, Joe, they're old. No. I was there at the Rose Bowl. Nick Saban could have coached another 10 years, folks. Jay Wright could have coached another 10 years. We're losing those guys because of money. Well, Joe, the NCAA screwed everybody, and they did this and they did that. Yeah, they did. But you don't make things better by screwing yourself twice. And that's what's happening in college. And it doesn't really matter. People are still going to watch because we are now breeding degenerate gamblers. So much so that professional players are getting knocked off for gambling almost every week now. And yet you will sit there and tell everybody, well, they made a bad decision. Gambling is bad, folks. You cannot gamble, but you can make money from it. How can you look at anyone in the face with that kind of hypocritical comment? Yet you blame, in different instances, you blame things on the authorities. But in this situation, you don't blame the authorities. You don't blame the NFL. You don't blame the NBA. You don't blame Major League Baseball. No, not in this situation. No, you blame it on the corporate guy over there at Epic. He's the bad guy. You're the same people. You have the same people running these companies. How is it different? You're breeding trash in the name of money. And then when your guys get popped for doing it, you reprimand them. You reprimand the same people for doing what you're doing. Just, folks, if I had any life advice for anybody, be who you want to be and really, really understand that everything around you is horse manure. It's just much better to live that way. And when it's not, when it surprises you, oh, shoot, I was wrong here. Take it. You know why? Because you're going to be very rarely wrong. It's those instances that you're very, very rarely wrong. That's fine. I don't mind being wrong once every 3 or 4 months on stuff like that. It's actually reassuring. I'm like, oh, good. There's actually one good thing that came out of this.
And Joe, you're trying to stay positive, even on a day where ESPN is blaring the Lakers disaster right there on the front page of ESPN.com with Hurley spurning the Lakers. You notice they used my word, spurning. I want to say also as well, on the headlines, Darvin Ham goes back to the Bucks as a top assistant, and your favorite football coach, Mike Tomlin, gets an extension to 2027. Not a good day for Joe.
Milwaukee is a dumpster fire right now, and what did they do? They went and found more gasoline.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Well, at least he's not going to be in front of the.
You want to? Let's talk positive then. At that point, when does Giannis demand a trade?
Yeah,
at this point.
But man, he's been injured so much in recent times.
Oh man,
is he still at that top tier level? That's what I want to know.
I'm sure he's fine. There's sometimes when you're around negativity, you become more injured.
True.
There's a mental thing that is a time.
He may want out.
Yeah. So let's see if there's going to be fireworks here. It's going to be very interesting.
We'll see. But again, it is the Lakers, unfortunately, getting spurned, brought up before ESPN, getting turned down by Dan Hurley. The reported 6 years, $70 million, not enough to get Dan Hurley to commit to move away from the two-time defending champions in NCAA basketball, the UConn Huskies, and move over to Los Angeles. So where we go to next, we will find out, and we will report it on here for you.
That's a good point, Jay. That Darvin Ham found a job before the Lakers found a head coach. I think the irony there is hilarious. It is ridiculously hilarious.
Well, Andrew, that's what we brought up over the course of the weekend, was that he may not be worth what you offer him, but
3 years, $15 million.
You have to overpay. You have to overpay and to bring a guy out here away from the life he has currently, right, Joe? You have to.
I would offer JJ 3 years, $15 million. He has no cachet.
Oh, you're talking about JJ. My bad.
JJ Redick. Yes.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Hurley. My bad.
No, Hurley needed a $100 million contract. Yeah.
Hurley needed that $100 million.
Yeah,
Andrew, JJ, he's a starter coach. Andrew, just looking for a chance and looking for an opportunity.
And I'm gonna stand on my theory that was the $100 million, the $120 million number was leaked by his camp or Woj or whatever to signal to the Lakers what needed to be done. And the Lakers were still tone deaf and blind to it. Or they didn't want to pay him that much money. And if that was the case and they weren't able to recognize that, then they have no business being in business, folks. It doesn't matter how long Jeannie has been a bus. Just because she came from Jerry Buss doesn't mean she knows what she's doing, or she can gauge a room, or she can understand something just because she's been around it. Guys, some people are born with it, and some people can adapt to it. Some people can enhance it, and then some people can't, no matter how much you press it down their throat. She is focused on things that don't belong in the position she's in. She needs to go and tend to whatever it is that she likes to do. Like play with the pets. Go play with the pets. Go do videos about. There's a channel called the Dog Channel. Okay, there's a dog channel, folks. There's a dog channel so that the dog can watch TV. I saw a video. I've been getting asked, why are you picking on dogs, Joe? Why are you always picking on dogs? You don't like dogs? No. I'm watching stuff. I watched a video the other day of a lady saying that her dog was a vegetarian. And then the second they did the test, he went right for the meat. They had a bowl of veggie stuff and they had a bowl of meat. The dog went to the meat. Right there, it made her look, talk about tomato in the face. Folks, that's where Jeannie belongs. She belongs watching dogs on TV and that kind of stuff. She doesn't belong running an NBA basketball team. She can own it, just don't be involved. But the first thing you need to do is get a GM that knows what the hell they're doing.
And that's the first thing we talked about, thing I've been stressing for years. And people have defended Rob for years now in the chat. And I've gone back and forth saying this guy is not the guy to get it done, but they keep on holding on to that 2020 title. You know, the one that others put asterisks on, and yet others are saying, you know what, Rob guided us to the 2020 title, so we can believe that he can bring us another title. And I'm just saying, if you look at the whole body of work by Rob Pelinka, you see that, it averages out to not being a good talent evaluator. And in this case, he's not being a good coach evaluator and being able to read the room properly. And it's hurting us a little more, and a little more each and every day.
One of the great things about this show is that there's footage of what we talked about years ago with Rob Pelinka. There's evidence there of us talking about weird ticks that we saw even then. And now they're coming, it's becoming magnified more and more.
I mean, for years they were talking about, oh, it's Darvin Ham's fault. Oh, it's LeBron's fault. It's an organization's fault, but who is at the head of this organization? That's where your main problem lies. It's an organizational issue. Sure, it's an organizational problem when you lose, and it's organizational benefit when you win. But it all starts with Jeannie and Rob, and we can't get rid of Jeannie. I'm sorry. Apologies to anyone who still supports Jeannie. More power to you. But yeah, Jeannie is just not getting it done. You look at the number of playoff to non-playoff seasons under her governorship, and it's not been pretty. Under the Bus Kids as a whole, and it's not been pretty. And then we can't, unfortunately, ask her to leave, or the Bus Kids to leave, or sell the team. You can ask, but they won't do it. They make too much money. So you can look at Rob and say, yeah, just not getting it done. Pale Fox, sometimes it is hard to say one good thing Rob Pelinka's done. I agree.
It doesn't matter anymore. What's now? This is magnified even more now because we're about to probably watch the Celtics get to 18 before the Lakers.
Depressing.
That part is the killer more than any of this, is the fact that you had a team that is paying a player a supermax contract, and you have another player who's getting the max, who's going to get a supermax. They were still able to bring a important piece in Porzingis last year, and on top of that, bring in a player that, in my book right now, is the most valuable player of their team in this run, in Drew Holiday. While we sit back and we've made excuses, we've been nice, folks. I actually think we've been nice. We should be more vicious. How is it that the Celtics, supposed racist city, supposed city that nobody wants to go to, are all of a sudden getting all these things when they're already capped out like everybody else, yet they keep acquiring important pieces to make a run to now probably win a championship? They hire a coach that was thrown into this. because they had another coach who was insubordinate. And yet this coach becomes someone who's inspirational, someone that I actually have extreme respect for, who speaks very well, who coaches his team the right way. If it wasn't for those jerseys, I'd be cheering for him.
Yeah.
The only reason why I'm not cheering for him is because and the only reason why it's going to not hurt as much is because I like Mazzulla. I like Tatum. I like Brown. I love Drew Holiday. And I don't have a problem with Porzingis. Porzingis, unfortunately, is making the best he can with that body. That body has failed him because it's just not made for an NBA run, an 82-game run and a 16-win run for a title. And the fact that he's gone as long as he has, well, it's because he's got help. But if he ends up winning the championship this year, he had a significant impact just in the first half of game one. That was enough to say, look, he went nuts when he got back in. Him being a decoy in game two helped.
But we'll see what happens, my friend. It looks more and more like the Boston Celtics are on the way to overtaking the Lakers once again for world championships with 18. And the Lakers at this point are hitting a new low because they can't even get the coach that they're gunning for, as Dan Hurley says no to the Lakers and heads back to UConn. What will happen next for the Lakers? We'll wait and see. But of course, we'll be here reporting on it as only we can. No one is better out there bringing you this unbreaking news, Joe, of course, which is Dan Hurley spurning the Lakers. But again, if you have any questions, thoughts, please put in the comments below. LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com or Lakers Fast Break on social media. Please follow us there. Support my other show, Pop Culture Cosmos. If you're into pop culture, I just dropped a latest episode there, wherever you get your podcasts. Support Joe at Simblades, simblades.com. And go ahead for more Lakers thoughts. You could go ahead to LakersBall.com or Lakerholics.com, where you can hear Laker Tom, as L. Rob and I were talking about on the phone, talking about how Laker Tom will get you ad nauseum right now with the Pat Riley-esque comparisons for JJ Redick. And you'll get a lot of that at Lakerholics.com. Of course, also as well, Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner. Big shout out, John Costa. And of course, everything that we do right here. Of course, also as well, Stone Hansen at @report_court. He had some definitive thoughts. He knew, Joe, of course, all along that he did not think that Dan Hurley was going to take the offer as well. So NBA teams, you're missing out on a great guy in Stone Hansen. I don't know why. It just seems just perplexing to me why he hasn't gotten a job yet in the NBA. But we're glad we have him here. We're glad we have you here. We're glad we have Joe here and everybody else here talking about what's going on with the Lakers. And Joe says we want to go back on tonight. So if any more news comes back tonight, we'll be on later talking about what's going on with this team, because I still don't have a coach. The coaching search continues, the coaching caravan, the coaching circus. The pain continues for us Lakers fans. And we'll continue it with you as your voice of reason, always right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.